Hello, good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. I'm Shubhangi and I'm part of the branding and communications team here. Um, so today's webinar is led by Prachi, who's the head of academics, Ruchika, who's a course manager for interior design, and Kirti, who's the course manager for graphic design. But before I hand it over to all three of these very seasoned academicians, I would like to talk a little bit about uh, what is ANDAcademy, what is it that we do, how do we do it, and why do we do it. So ANDAcademy is a one-of-a-kind design which the Institute of Art and Design, um, which is a brick and mortar institution design school here in New Delhi. So IIAD was established back in 2014 in collaboration with Kingston School of Art, London. And and actually comes from the same design pedigree, and we sort of it was founded by the same person. And is a brainchild of Dr. Jitin Chanda, who's also founded IAD and is the founder of ANDAcademy as well. So and comes backed by a decade of experience in design education, and we offer professional design courses in the domains of graphic design, interior design, and UI UX design, which is what we'll be talking about today. All of our courses are designed for working professionals or people who come from very little or no prior training in design. Our courses are delivered in a live and interactive format, and all of it is online. So you can join us from any part of the world, as we can see is the case today. We steer away from traditional models of learning by optimizing for accessibility and convenience so that you can learn and work together. Um, our courses are stackable, so you begin from the very fundamentals of design. You can start with a certificate, and then once you finish your certificate, then you can choose to move forward for a diploma and for a PG diploma. Um, Today, this webinar is led by our head of academics and our course manager for interior and graphic design, as I mentioned. And before I hand it over to you, to the academics team, I would like to talk a little bit about Prachi and Ruchika and Kirti. So Prachi is a designer, an educator, and a researcher. She brings 25 plus years of industry and academic experience to the table. Her practice spans the disciplines of product design, social design, publication design, and design management. Her expertise lies in curriculum development, strategic use of pedagogy and technology, and academic processes for design education. She's a graduate from NIP, New Delhi. She's also completed a PG certification in higher education from Kingston University, London. As for Kirti, uh, Kirti is a multifaceted creative professional with a passion for both craft, product design, and film and art direction. Uh, Her educational journey took an interesting turn as she completed her undergraduate degree in chemistry and then moved on to IICD for her postgrad. Um, she, in her professional endeavors, is deeply committed to sustainability and often integrates eco-conscious practices in her designs. She's very passionate about arts and crafts of India with a dream of positioning them globally. She believes that art and design have the power to transform into tangible realities, whether it's through product or cinematic experiences. She is committed to crafting innovative, human-centered solutions that address some of the world's most challenging uh, problems. For Ruchika, uh, Ruchika has completed her Bachelor's of Architecture from MBM University, Jodhpur, and her Master's of Architecture from SEPT University, Ahmedabad. She comes with 7+ years of experience with originators as a junior architect, Apex Group of Institution as an assistant professor, SEPT University as a teaching associate, and MIT University as a research assistant. With that, I will hand it over to the academics team to please take it forward. Oh, before I forget, we will also follow a certain flow in this webinar. So the academics team will have their presentation first. Then at the end of this session, we'll take the questions, and I request everyone to take the route of the Q&A box that you see at the bottom of your screen and put in your questions throughout the presentation so that we can answer them systematically. Yeah, with that, over to you, Prachi ma'am.
Okay, Kirti, I'll just set the agenda and then we'll move forward with Kirti taking over with graphic design to begin with, and then I'll cover UX design and interior design, because these are the three basic disciplines that we hold courses at ANDAcademy. For each of the sections, we will start with a little bit about the discipline, that what does it really entail, because in our experience, there seems to be a little bit of confusion around what really each of these disciplines involves. And then we'll take you through the best part of today's webinar, which is a quick showcase of some of our student work. And we'll close it with the details of the course that we offer and the career opportunities that are available in each of it. And so this will move like a relay, with Kirti starting with graphic design, then me covering UX UI design, and then Ruchika taking over for interior design. Once we are through with this, is when we will pick your questions, but you're free to put your questions in the Q&A tab and not in the chat tab. So you can interact with us in the chat, but if you have a question that you'd like us to answer, that you can put in the Q&A tab, and you'll find both the chat and the Q&A tab at the bottom of your Zoom interface. So with that, I hand over to Kirti.
Before Kirti, I think I'll barge in and
Yes.
talk a little bit about what designers do. So, since you've heard so many good things from Prachi and Shubhangi already, I think I'll tell you that designers do not play one role. We are by nature multifaceted. We wear a lot of hats. So you will see us, can we please have the next slide? You see us researching, so you could be a researcher. You see us planning, we also have to plan to know when to deliver things, when to start things, and when to meet deadlines set by our clients. Sometimes we also have to be thinkers. We have to think logically, creatively. We have to be imaginative. We also have to be makers, naturally, since we like to work with our hands and we like to get our hands dirty whenever we're designing. And what role we would expect all of you to take on from today and hopefully join us later is that of a learner. So with this, I think I'll hand it over to Kirti, and Kirti, yes, graphic design now.
Hi, good evening, everyone. I'll start with graphic design. So let's talk about graphic design and let's understand what is graphic design. So we'll start with a quick small introduction of graphic design. So graphic design is all about planning and communicating ideas, experiences, messages through visuals. Yeah. So it's not just about making things look good, yeah, or pleasing. It's a layered process that goes much deeper than that. Yeah. So by understanding this layered process, it involves research, it involves strategy, creativity, and designers. And designers follow a step-by-step approach, starting with understanding the problem first, then brainstorming with the ideas, then refining those ideas through visual elements that effectively communicate the intended message. So overall, think of it as a visual language, whether it's through colors, typography, images, or layouts. Graphic design helps us to tell a story or convey a message in a way that's clear and engaging. Yeah. So taking you further, what a graphic designer must know. So we can see like a nice visual and like, with all these like 5 circles that has like individual characteristics and things that a graphic designer must know and they should. So basically we start with what? The visual design, the very basic. So a graphic designer must have an understanding of the core elements of visual design, which includes color, typography, composition, and grid systems. Yeah. And these fundamentals help us create a balanced, engaging, and aesthetically pleasing designs. Moving forward, taking our understanding of visual design, we go towards effective and visual communication. Yeah.
So designers must communicate messages clearly and effectively. Very important. We just understood like that it's very important for graphic designers to plan and communicate. So it is like a sole thing that we are actually doing as graphic designers. Yeah. And the goal is to ensure that the design speaks to the audience in a way that it's easy to understand and visually impactful. So, when we are talking about effective visual communication, we are also talking about connecting with the audience. And when we are able to connect with the audience, the effective visual communication is already happening. Yeah. We further move to satisfying needs of businesses and users. By that, I mean, designers must strike a balance between meeting business objectives and addressing user needs. Yeah. This means creating designs that not only look good, but are also serving a purpose, whether that's driving engagement, informing, or prompting some action. Everything comes, and we need to create a nice balance between the business and understanding of users. Yeah. Moving from here, when we are doing when we are understanding the businesses, users, we are also thinking about the effective visual communication. We are also having an understanding of visual design system. But everything is possible when we go through a nice and a very solid and a structured design process. Yeah, which is developing ideas into design solutions. So a good design doesn't happen just by accident. Yeah, it's the result of a structured process, from brainstorming and idea generation to refining and developing those ideas into final design solutions. Following a process is key to achieving these effective outcomes. So without the process, everything will not be coming together and making it effective. Yeah. Then moving towards the final one, which is tech for production, which is finally proficiency in in the relevant production softwares, which is essential, which is also an essential part. Whether it's for digital platform or print, understanding the technical tools and technologies that bring a design to life is an important part of a designer's skill set. So I think we now have an overview of the essential skills and knowledge areas for a graphic designers. Moving to some opportunities that are lying there for graphic designers. Let's understand them. So I think there are immense of opportunities that we have, but just talking slightly on these that are present on the screen, there are so many areas that we the opportunities are there for us, which is branding, brand communication, social media, digital design, print and publication, motion graphics. So I think I'll just share a small little thing about each, but I'm again assuring there is a lot of immense of opportunities which are there in each one. So by branding, what do we do in branding? By branding, we shape a brand's identity through logos, colors, and visual style. Yeah. When we talk about brand communications, here we are designing visuals that communicate a brand's message across various platforms. Then when we go to social media and digital design, here we are understanding that we create engaging content for digital and social media channels. In print and publication, we design layouts for magazines, books, posters, and other printed materials. In motion graphics, what do we do? Something really interesting. We bring static designs to life with animation and video elements. Yeah. And then I think we all have understood by just when I have just shared so much about the opportunities that everybody needs a graphic designer. And I'm really excited to share this, that from startups to established brands, every business relies on great design to stand out. Yeah. And the possibilities are just endless. Whether it's creating a memorable logo, stunning social media content, captivating motion graphics, or impactful print materials, graphic designers have the power to transform ideas into visual experiences. Yeah. So now talking about the courses, it's a course distribution that's shared on the screen. So there is PG Diploma in full-time and there is PG Diploma in part-time. But when we talk about part-time, it's stackable. So we can see there are 3 stages here: certificate, diploma, and PG Diploma. I'm talking for the right side of the screen. Yeah. So certificate is for 18 weeks. Then you go further, you do diploma in another 18 weeks. Then you want to go further for PG Diploma, another 18 plus weeks. Yeah. In diploma, I'm talking about just part-time, the right side of the screen, there is a placement support. Yeah. But when we are going PG diploma in part-time, there you also get an option to choose a pathway about which I will be talking further. So here you get a job guarantee with a disclaimer. Yeah. With that, you have to have 80% attendance with like constant and maintained merit grades throughout the course. All right. Now talking about the left side of the screen, which is the PG diploma, which is full-time, which is of 36 weeks. Yeah, there is no stackability for here for this one. There is only stackability for the part-time for a reason. Yeah. So for full-time, you have job guarantee, but with the same disclaimer that I just shared. The timings that you can see for full-time and part-time are slightly different. For full-time, the timings are from Monday to Thursday every day from 2 to 5 p.m. Friday also from 5 to 9, in which you will be having some extracurricular sessions, which will be helping you to have a holistic understanding and learning of design. You will also be having software support on Wednesday. For PG full-time, 20 hours per week of self-study is expected. But in part-time, the timings also you can see, it's 7 to 10 p.m. Yeah. And software support on Wednesday is also there. 6 hours of 6 hours per week of self-study is expected again from here. Yeah. Now I'll take you with a little detail of graphic design part-time, how it is distributed. So we can see it now. It is distributed in terms like I showed you on the right side. There are 3 levels. So like the similar way, term 1, which is again for 18 weeks, term 2, 18 weeks, and term 3, again 18 weeks. But in term 1, we are covering fundamentals of visual design. You can also see the final outcomes that we are making here. The typographic composition, which is there, the final outcome, your portfolio project. Then another module in this is design for print and digital, in which you will be making brochure and collaterals for any event. Then moving to the term 2, you will be designing like the modules. There are 2 modules again. For one is design for social media. Second is for brand identity design. Again, we're talking about brand identity. Yeah. And like just I mentioned about branding as an opportunity. So here we are going a little detail in that. In the first module of term 2, we will be making a social media carousel post for brands. Then the second one is brand identity design, where you will be making you will be designing a system for a brand, a hypothetical brand in which you will be making a logo, typography, pattern, mascot, etc. You will also be getting a portfolio development sessions, particularly to really enhance how you want to exhibit your portfolios on Behance. Talking about term 3, where you have to choose a pathway, there are 2 options for you available. One is that if you choose to go for brand communication, there are another 2 modules here, which is one is motion design, and the second one is campaign for a brand. All right. The second option is UI design, in which you will be learning and understanding about UI and interaction design of a product, page, and task flow. And you will be also learning about creating your own event website or landing page. This comes again, like I shared, with a job guarantee with the disclaimer, which I have already talked about. Now moving forward, another, like now we can see the segregation has already happened. Like I've shared already, term 1 certificate, you are ready for internship here. In term 2, you're ready for a job, which is like the intermediate level, where you are also understanding about fundamentals of branding, design process, a guided portfolio development. Moving from here, when you go to the PG diploma, which is an advanced level in graphic design, what do? You choose a pathway here, like I shared the pathways, and then you also have career development sessions, again, the job guarantee. So this is how the whole course is distributed in detail. Like the whole structure is laid out in front of you. Now I will tell you the difference between full-time and part-time. So everything which is marked, which is written in white, yeah, is what are we doing extra in full-time. But in full-time, we also do everything that we cover in part-time, the same thing that that we are doing in full-time. But there are a little more detailed. There are in a little more depth, because we also have a lot of time, yeah, for that, because we are meeting every day, and we are expecting 20 hours from a week for you to do your self-study. So similarly, the nature also goes that the icon design, the contextual research for design, where the visual documentation is happening. I will be sharing some work with you, but just sharing with you here that these white, everything marked in white is something extra that we do in graphic design full-time. But the rest, both the courses are doing the same things full-time with a little bit of detail and depth. All right. Coming to the best favorite part, which is sharing the student work. All right. Is my screen visible?
Yeah, very
Alright.
much.
So I'll start, like I shared, I'll start from design fundamentals. So we will also see the length and width of, a learner is going with the project. So like starting, this is the presentation, but the design process goes like you select a word for you. And then you also select a phrase, like a line, what you wanted to say. So this one choose that the world needs more of space, and space is the word the learner has chosen. All right, then talking about the concept. So it's not that you choose a word and you just go with it. No, you also have to develop a concept, and your visuals are dependent, like they are in alignment with the concept that you're choosing. What kind of mood, what kind of type you're wanting to use, what kind of colors they will be using, what would be the feel of it, mood of it, vibe of it. So we start with messy ideation, some sketches, hand-drawn sketches. Then we, select something from them. And then after selecting few from them, we digitalize them. Then again, we select. Then again, we start and, play with the compositions. So the idea development keeps happening. It starts from idea generation, like I just mentioned. Then the selection keeps happening. You keep changing something or the other. You keep improvising on it. Then you create variations. Like after you select your final ones, you also create further variations. Like you can see, like these three are chosen, but there are variations in it. Yeah. And then how you're also executing it everywhere. I can show you from where it started, and I will take you to the end now. So this is where it started. All right. And we move to the final outcome with this extensive work. Also, you add color, and you just do not pick any color. You also you align it with your concept. Then you set a color palette. Then you see if it's also aligning with the keyword, with the mood of what your concept is. And yes, this is where the learner has achieved from that sketch that I just zoomed in to here. All right. Moving to the next one, which is about a print and publication. So this is about where they got a craft, Indian craft, and they did research around that craft, and then they created brochures, microsites, and some promotional assets. All right. So I think this is a beautiful thing that this learner has added. She's added a sketch of the artisan she visited, which also sometimes tells that it could be a strategy to sometimes, gain trust, and also to show that how thorough your research was, like the details she has drawn here, and how much in detail she's gone through the craft when she was researching about it. Then there's a concept note which is talking about what would be the look and feel of the final outcome of her deliverable. Then the project brief, which is talking about an NPO, which is organizing a guided tour to Channapatna village. This craft is Channapatna toys. And then this is an initiative, and she is designing a microsite here. She will be making some social media invites and some promotional assets. So we can see that how the background study is aligned with the visuals she has extracted from the craft. And the background, she's also kept sawdust that she saw all around where she had visited them, like we can see here. Then like some visual research also, some extractions of her from her visual research. Yeah, how she has extracted it. And even the color palette that she has set, it is also in alignment with the craft. Nothing that she has just chosen, like she felt like choosing. Everything is well thought of, well designed. Like the font she's picked, the messy ideation, she just wanted to share with you all that, and everybody, even the recruiter, that I have done like a thorough work. So she's just created a GIF file for it, that as many sketches and messy ideations were done. Then some prototypes, variations of the microsite. And these are also the changes that she did. So what she did and why she did, she's also explaining with the reason. It's just not that, it doesn't work every time that we just keep highlighting our positives. Sometimes when we highlight what we learned and how we really, enhanced our learning and we actually improvised in our work, that also works for us and in a very positive way. So this is one of the Deliverable, this is an invite for Channapatna Toys for that event. This is the microsite to celebrate Channapatna Toys. Yeah. Talking about the history, details, register, and some promotional assets you can see she's created from her work. All right. Now I'll take you to design for digital. So this is again a student. So basically in this module, they got an existing brand on which they had to do a little, like a really thorough research. So you can see the level of research. This is all the research, everything. This is all research. And if I zoom it in, it's like really too much. So every aspect of it, like what is the color of the brand, how the brand talks, what is the tone of the brand, you know, and what are, like, if you talk about visuals, what is the grid, how the frames look, what kind of pictures are used, what is the language they are using, yeah, what kind of illustrations, what is the style. Then before entering into the design process, they set a communication objective of what they want to achieve in the end. Because by having communication objective, you kind of have everything in line, like you already, like there is no possibility that you would just go here and there. It keeps you anchored with the whole design process. So it really helps you to keep in line with the whole project. So having this communication objective set, she knew what is the target audience. The target audience was crisp and clear. What kind of visuals, what is the problem she's addressing, on what would be the outcome that she's going to create. These are the messy ideations like I shared in the previous one. Yeah. And then these are the illustrations. These are self-made illustrations. She created herself. And some shapes and icons also she created herself. Then some ideations. Also did SWOT analysis on the ideations they created, because to have a better understanding and to have a better, a critical thinking and a decision-making power, and of how, like in SWOT, they were able to decide that which one they are going to go with and why. So they already have and always have their what I did and why I did. This is the iterations from what she was creating from the ideations. And I'll take you to the final one. This is the final post, the carousel post, which she created to promote millets, like information of millets. And her target audience was young parents. All right, then I'll take you, now I'll take you to brand identity. So this is basically a hypothetical, luxurious, transformative haven. This logo is for that. This is the logo of that one. So which is talking about, like, this resort where you come and you just experience this transformation, this holistic well-being. So basically disconnect to connect, like we can understand by the name Nirvana and like by the look and feel of the logo also. So she designed the logo. This is the mood board, some messy ideations. Yeah. Logo, and every aspect of the logo, of every element of logo is saying what, bringing everything together. Colors, setting them in the grid, having logos for different areas. Maybe for when you want to use full logo, you use this main logo, symbols, word mark, horizontal logo, all the color options that are available. Now talking about typography that she has used here, the colors, patterns that she was exploring with, icons, photography that really helped her to reach here. Some applications, some assets, promotional assets. How this logo will look for this brand. Yeah, so this is the identity she has created herself. And this is something that was created from scratch. All right. Okay. Yeah. I think why I'm scrolling upwards, because I was just scrolling them and I kept watching them because I was so much in love with the work they were doing. All right, so till here, like I'm sharing, these are first 4 I have shared with you. So these 4, this makes your diploma complete till here, till the last Nirvana logo brand identity project I shared. After this, I will be sharing 2 more, which I'm sharing from full-time, work from full-time, but they are also a part of part-time. So here, till these 4, your diploma gets completed. When you do these other 2, then the PG diploma also comes into play. All right. So yeah, so this is about brand narratives. And the objective here was to, again, this was a hypothetical brand that she's created, like the identity also she only created, and then the social media narrative, like the brand narrative for this brand identity that she has created, she extended that to create this identity. So it is like a develop a narrative for brand communication and promotion for a hypothetical brand she has mentioned, which aligns with the personality, values, and core offering and target audience of the brand she's talking about. This is Rubaru, which is an extension of Ruabza, yeah, which is like everybody knows Ruabza, which is like takes us back into like nostalgia in those days. And this one is talking about like traditional Ruabza enthusiasts to the adventurous palettes of Gen Z and millennials. So she's trying to bring that back and still, and she's also trying to make it relevant for the Gen Z and millennials. Yeah. This is the brand concept, which is talking about that it is rooted in timeless allure of rose flavor. Our mission is to craft experiences that transcend generations. And it's not just a brand, it's more than that. All right. So it's talking about the versatility and the spirit of it and the joy that you feel. You can see through the like the color here. You can see through the type. This is the process that she's highlighting here. Mood boards that she started with, like this is narrative transformation theory that she used to create this poster. This is an input. This is a concept that is taught, and then using that, she's created this poster. Then again, this visual narrative of a carousel post, again, which is like, you can see that the learners are also highlighting their learnings and what are they doing, why they are doing in the form of a keynote, which is nice. Yeah. So she's creating a hashtag campaign, which encourages followers to participate and engage with the content. Yeah. So which is what community building is happening. As a graphic designer, she's thinking strategically like that. Here, a Facebook post. Again, some WhatsApp assets for business components. Then using another design, like another concept, communication concept, which is again metaphors. So she's using a metaphorical language to express that hope and optimism customers can find in the brand's solution. So how even in the face of adversity, hope is a flavor worth savoring, Rubaru, and how it is connect, everything is connected and just feeling one. Yeah. Again, some analysis, macro trend analysis. It is very important when you're doing these narratives because it tells you how relevant your content is and what is coming, what is going, what is actually working these days. You can also work with your competitors accordingly. Some visual explorations, some social media trends, a lot of analysis, some competitor analysis again happening. Sorry. Yeah, then the target audience, some activation expansions, like a lot of detailed research of springboards or visual springboards, the ideas. Like everything, the whole narrative is not just coming out like that. It's like a lot of detailed process that has gone behind. What is the color palette, the typography, what are the visual elements, she will be using. And these are the final visuals. One for Instagram carousel post. This for Facebook. This is for LinkedIn. Across all platforms, this was designed according to that. And we can see that every platform has its own language, has its own style. Still, they are looking one, yet different and separate. So because they are catering to different target audiences. So this is for brand narratives. Now talking about motion graphic. So this one I'll share with you. So were you able to hear that also? Music? Yeah.
Yeah, it was audible, Kirti.
Okay. Okay. So it was a part of, again, like this project was a part of like amalgamation of what, a 15-second video was like the brief where text, image, and sound was to be incorporated, and some additional secondary elements which we can see in the background. So this is like to reach here, like a really thorough and a detailed process, is followed. Like you create like a storyboard here. Every frame, every second, microsecond, even a second is also divided. It's a 15-second one, and then you can see the number of frames that are here. And then the animatic. So it's like a blueprint of how you combine all your storyboards, timings, sound, and type before you go to the final one and make that final one. So this is like the animatics. You can see how the animatics has been created. And the result we've already seen. So like, this is like reverse engineering. I'm just like sharing so that you can see how the process was. Okay, this was motion graphics. Then I'll take you. Now these are like projects that I'm going to share with you are extra projects that only full-time does. All right, so I'll start from here only. This one. So this LEAF project is a part of the first module, the fundamentals that I talked about. Here, you're studying, you choose a leaf of your own, you study that leaf, the physical qualities of a leaf in detail, and you create a graphic form and composition using the elements of design, principles of design, like the fundamentals of design you've just learned in this module. And after that, you're creating this. So the design process again, like it's messy, refining ideation, and then the final outcome. So capturing the details, like how you can see, like how it is kept side by side, how the details have been captured. Then some messy ideation of the idea generation. Then some unique explorations, some abstract explorations also. Then choosing these 5 and then doing further like variations in them, creating more variations and then taking them digitally. And then finally selecting these 3 and also creating patterns from these 3. And we can see how these can be used, like how prints of these could be used. And we can think of as many ideas. All right. I'll take you to another very interesting one, which is context and inquiry. So context and inquiry, basically in context and inquiry, it's a user research method where designers observe and interact with users in their real environment to understand their tasks, their needs, their behaviors, and it helps them to gather in-depth insight into how users interact with their products and services in context. So we start with like, I'll take you through the whole process. So this is about a juice vendor, and this everything is created from scratch. So talking about the juice vendor, the name of the juice vendor stall, the name of the vendor is Indresh Kumar, who is 35 years old, talking about him briefly. Then also sharing with you like where it is located, the Balaji Fruit Juice Corner, it is located. The map is here, how you can see like how this area looks. Then the visual study, which goes about the workspace, yeah, the layout of the workspace, the plan of how everything is kept, things that are there, and what role are they playing, the visuals, the touch, talking about the sound, the people, and the environment it is connected and, surrounded with. So noting everything. Then the interviews are also happening, and how you're combining all information to extract the background, profile, and personality of that vendor. Also noting down the day in the life of the vendor, like starting from 5 a.m. Like everything is relevant because everything is in context with the work, the venture that he's running. Each and every detail, like you can see from 8:15 to 8:20 is also getting noted. So that is the level of detailed research one does, and doesn't stop adding visuals to that because we are visual designers, right? Then also talking about stakeholders and segregating them. Then this is the direct stakeholder, this is the indirect stakeholder for a better clarity. Then people study, like who are the customers, then choosing one and talking about like sharing the whole customer journey. So noting that down, like it's really detailed. I can't really, show the whole detail, like everything here. Like, and then how the, vendor is promoting, types of promotions, and then in the end, capturing the whole essence of how everything together comes in and sums it up. Yeah. So this is one extra. The last one is this one, another which full-time does. So in this one, this was about like visual narrative. It is about narrative, visual narrative module is all about, focuses on teaching how to tell stories through visuals, combining elements like images, illustrations, and layouts to convey a message or concept effectively. Yeah. So here we also cover all the concepts, all the design concepts that we've learned, like principles of visual storytelling, including like composition, sequence, emotional impact. Yeah. Talking about emotions and understanding, then helping students like to create engaging and meaningful narratives using these visual media. So here the brief was about creating a single frame narrative using an infographic to effectively communicate the message in an engaging manner. the concept note is this one for her that she wanted to keep, like she wanted to, like this is something, a dish of her grandmother, which she really wanted to create like the same way. So she took recipe from her and she wanted to keep the warmth and nostalgia of a home cooked traditional recipe. So you will also see how the place is looking. It looks like how our households look when we are creating like a sweet dish like that, like something exotic, like we make sometimes, not every day. So this is the idea generation where some like freehand sketches are done, then some refined layouts, horizontal, vertical, both. Choosing this one, the visual style she's talking about, the visual style she's choosing is rough lines, outlines, flat color fills, less negative space, elements placed together. This is what she chose, not something that she came, up afterwards, but she decided to do that. Typography, she's also mentioning what kind of color and hand-drawn, style that she's wanting to use, and this is the final outcome. So yeah, that's it. Thank you. So this sums up graphic design. Thank you. Over to Prachi.
Thank you, Kirti. That was like I was mesmerized looking at all the work. We keep seeing it and we do it, but I think it's great to at one point see it. Okay, so everybody can take a deep breath, and from graphic design to UI UX design, and let's talk about it. I'll try and keep this a little crisp and short, in keeping with the overall timeline of the webinar, because the graphic design always takes longer because we're covering two different courses. So let's go to the next slide, please. Thank you. So very quickly, because there's always this confusion around what UX UI design is really. So I thought I'll just very quickly put together a definition of UX UI. And this is what I like to do when I like to clarify my own thoughts. I go to the dictionary, pick up the meaning of each of the words, and then piece it together, right? So it's not very difficult for us to know what a user is, a person who uses or operates something, right? So right now I'm operating my laptop. So I'm the user of this laptop. I'm sitting on a chair. So I'm the user of the chair, right? Experience is when something happens to you, when you do or feel something. And design, which is what I like to pause and talk about. What actually is design? That word is thrown around so many times. It is actually to make or plan something with a specific purpose in mind, right? So you have a specific purpose and you're making it, but before you make it, you plan what you're going to make. And that entire act of planning and making something with a specific purpose of mind is what becomes design. Yeah, let's move to the next slide. So UX design is an intentional process. You put an intention behind it. Yeah, it's not something that happens randomly, spontaneously, serendipitously. It's an intentional process of creating a product or a service or an environment that addresses specific needs of its operators, its users. So specific needs. In order to stimulate, in order to evoke or get an intended response. So you, as the creator of the product, expect or intend for your users to respond in a certain way, right? So if I have a television that can be operated both by remote and I can do it on the television, I don't want people to approach the television, but operate it from the remote when they just want to increase the volume or change the channel. That's my intended response. Or maybe I want them to save some of their shows which they may want to watch later, and that's my intended response, and which is also a need of the user, because sometimes you see trailers, sometimes somebody has told you about a show but you don't have the time to watch it right now, and that's your need. That where do I remember, how do I remember, because one day when I want to actually watch something, that day I can't find it, but I remember Kirti told me about this, or I had saved this at I wish I had saved it, what I saw that day. So that's a need. And as Netflix or Amazon Prime or whatever, I want my users to play that and not look for something else, right? So then we create the user experience of how our viewers are going to save this list and watch it later and be able to retrieve it simply, right? So the act of planning how your users can have this experience is what UX design is. Let's move on to the next slide. So what is user interface design? Now, when I always ask people, they say user experience is overall, user interface is how it looks. Not wrong, but incomplete, right? What is interface? Interface is primarily just something, a platform or through which two systems interact. So right now, you and I are interacting through our laptop screens and through the interface of Zoom. Because you're sitting on one end and I'm sitting on another end. And so many of us are sitting on different ends. Some are visible, some are only visible in the chat or the attendee list, right? So this is the interface. Now, that's not about how beautiful it looks, but about effective communication. At this time, if I want to look at what are the questions that have been put up, or look at what are the comments being put in the chat, or look for how many attendees are still there, or who is sharing the screen. These are all the actions that I want to take. And I know that Zoom's user experience provides all of these features and functions, but I struggle to find how to do it. Then that is where UI design steps in. It creates effective communication so that it is easy for me to take these actions. So like on the remote, or all of us have experienced this on, let's say, a microwave, that my microwave has certain features, but I don't know. I know that I can, shift the power of my microwave, but I struggle to do it. Now, the function is there, the feature is there, but the interface has been designed in such a way that I get confused about how to do it, right? So that's the job of the UI design. Let's move, Kirti. And because products are for people, so what's the big deal about UI UX? Why, carve a profession or a discipline out of it, right? Is because it reminds us to take the human first approach. And the advent of UI UX as a discipline came about when a lot of technology started getting involved in products, right? And techies were designing it, right? So when your electronic goods also became more complex in terms of features and functions because of technological advancements, and engineers were designing it, and it was not part of their process to take a human first approach, the need was felt to have a discipline which takes the principles of design and marries it with technology, and reminds all of us that products are essentially for people. So don't just make things whatever technology is leading you to make it. Don't just solve a problem, make it easy for the way a human will understand it, right? And we're going to understand this using an example, and I think that's what the next slide is. Yeah. So this is a very famous example. When IDEO was approached, IDEO is a design thinking lab based in US. When they were hired by a client to create a device that nurses in ERs, in emergency rooms of hospitals, could use to enter data, right, during a specific procedure. So what the client thought, the first image, that they'll get something like that, we'll equip all our nurses with a tablet, and they'll get something like this, and tuck, 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 they can enter all these data that they are gathering from the user, and that is what they were expecting. But IDEO, which has also popularized design thinking as an approach, they took a human first approach. They said, we're not going to get down to designing, even though the client was able to tell them that nurses need these parameters, these are the procedures, this is what they need to record. They said, we're going to observe what Kirti showed you in that little juice wala example. They did that, but at a much larger scale. And they observed something very interesting. They observed that patients are very, very anxious at that time when they are undergoing a procedure. And a lot of these procedures, their loved ones, their family, trusted friends are not around. And they need a little bit of reassurance. And the nurse provides that reassurance. So they're often seen holding the hand of a patient or soothing a patient, just running a hand over their forehead, patting them to reassure them at that time. So what did IDEO learn? To cut a long story short, they learned that the nurses only have one hand available to enter the data that they would have to enter. Right now, this is taking a human first approach, acknowledging the two humans in this experience, both the needs of the patient and the realities of the nurse. Right? What is she going to do if she had what the client thought they would get as a solution? She would either continue to console the patient and say, I'll enter it later because I need to hold the device in one hand and enter my data. So I'll do it after the procedure and may end up making some errors. Or she decides that, oh, I can't help you, sir, right now. I can't hold your hand right now because I'm busy recording data. So let's move and see what was the solution they were provided. This is what they got. They got a single handheld device that could be operated with thumb scroll and fingers on the side, clicks on the side. And this is interface design, right? And the display, right? What could have happened? So that the device can be operated while the nurses continue to meet the needs of the emotional needs of their patients. This is just one example. There are many such examples around, right? But this is what we mean by taking a human first approach. Let's move, Kirti. Right? So what does this mean? You have to think of all of these things. How well does a product meet a user's need? Does it provide the function? Does it do everything? Now I've created something in order to simplify, but all the data that I needed to record, I can't record all of it. So it's not fulfilling its purpose or function. So that's the first thing. But the second is, how do users interact with the product? How easy it is? Is it accessible? Can I find something, whatever I'm looking for? I know there is a feature on my microwave, but I can't find it. I get lost. I was trying to, on my television, I was trying to search for something, or in WhatsApp, I was trying to search for something, while searching for it, I reached somewhere. Now I don't know how to go back. That's navigation. So I have to think about that as a UX UI designer. And how does the experience make the user feel? Is it desirable? Are these pain points? Or have we just taken a technology or a business first approach? Right? This is what I want to sell, and this is what I can make, and therefore let me sell it. And let me put that in front of the user, and they'll figure out how to use it. No. All of this is the job of a UI UX designer. And you do that by asking a whole lot of whys, right? You keep asking, why does the user say this? Why does the user feel this? Why do I need to add this? So why becomes your favorite question. Let's move. So it's at this sweet spot where something that is desirable for the user, something that is feasible or possible using the technology that we have, and something that is viable for the business, something that maybe I make something, but it's so expensive that nobody can buy it, and not because the business had decided to put a lot of profit margin in it, but because the cost of production itself is so high, right? So the UI UX designer's job is in this center sweet spot where all the three are equally honored. Let's move. And let's look at student work. And I'm going to do just one case study for you. And that should be sufficient to explain, though our students do a lot of work, but I mean, but this is just for you to understand that what does a UI UX designer's job really involve. So this is this was a live project. Actually, there was a real client who had this project, and one of our students worked on it while being as part of the course. And the idea was to create a platform for game creators, people who create games. Okay. to find talent. So people want to hire different skill sets, or people want jobs, and people want inspiration. So to put it simply, like a Insta and a LinkedIn mix of, and a Behance mix for specifically for game creators. Okay, so this is the problem that he was working on. So let's move on. Let's keep scrolling. Scroll. This is what he finally did. Worked for 250 hours, created 200 pages, and did about 6 iterations. Iterations are revisions to the design that he was doing. And this is one UX UI designer. We're working with 6 developers. Developers are people who will code the design, right? Let's scroll and we'll see his process. Yeah, let's keep moving. So he got a brief from his client that this is the problem the client gave him, right? But then Aromal went on to probe further into it. Let's scroll. Let's keep scrolling. Yeah. So some problems were already identified by the client, which is the business, right? But then he further probed into it. You don't only go with whatever your business or your client has said, right? Let's keep scrolling. So this is a double diamond process, which everybody is quite familiar with. But the first is discovering, which is when you don't just go by what your client said, but you deep dive into the problem. So let's go. And normally there are a lot of research methods that are used. But that's what Aromal did. He did his interviews with some of the game creators, recruiters, and all of them, right? And through those interviews, so obviously you don't see whole of it. This is his portfolio. He's just put some highlights that, what were the pain points of his users, right? Let's continue. Yeah. And you'll see these were some of the pain points, and he articulated them. Out of the various interviews that he did, he was able to identify user needs and their pain points that I couldn't effectively showcase my project. I need to do that. I couldn't find the right talent. I have to go through many portfolios before I find the right talent. So you'll see how Aromal solved it, right? And so on and so forth. A whole lot of things. I'm not going to get into the details of it. And then this is something that we do because we know, like there are going to be thousands of people who are going to use this platform, millions also. You can't solve the problem for individuals. So what you do is that you create personas. Personas are representations of common needs of some groups of users. So you'll be able to identify 5 types of users and you create personas around them, right? Let's scroll through this very quickly. Yeah. And now he starts thinking about the solution, right? Let's keep moving forward. Right? So he did all of these things. Personas I have already spoken about, right? And you will realize that each of this, so this is just representation. It's not, he didn't interview a person called Emily. This is a representation that, these are the kind of people and they have common pain points. But this is a different type of user, but he's also going to come on my platform and he has these needs. Now, Emily and Michael's needs some might be common, some might be different. And somehow the platform has to solve the problem for both Michael and Emily, right? So let's keep, and now he has redefined. So he didn't stick with what the client told him. He redefined his statement because now he realized that it became a community platform to connect, discuss, find inspiration, access assets, and enhance their career growth. So a new problem statement was defined, and this is very critical. It seems like a statement, but this is actually what you do after your discover and define, the first diamond of the design thinking, right? Let's move on. Yeah. And then people always think that, a shiny looking outcome comes, but this is what you start doing. You start listing from the needs. We'll just pause here for a minute. From the needs, you start listing what are the different features right? So the first feature is that there needs to be a profile page for each of the user, and what should be there in each of these profiles. So features are really like, okay, the ability to save a list that I will watch later. My own, multiple people have different lists. So what do we do? So, okay, a feature that you can create your own profile on Netflix or Amazon Prime or whatever OTT platform, right? So that's a feature. So he then, taking his insights, he started listing various features that will be on this platform. Let's keep scrolling now, Kirti. Yeah. Yeah. So marketplace, from where you can, pick up assets, right? You should have a portfolio showcase feature, right? Let's keep moving. Now that you have features, now what do? Right? So you have to design and visualize the steps that your user will go through on the application. You will think of the entire architecture of it. What are going to be my different pages? Like like a building. What are going to be my different floors? What are going to be my different rooms in each floor? Am I going to have wings or corridors? And how from one room is somebody going to go into the other room? What is going to be that navigation? So these are all the things that happen, and a lot of messy process that happens for this, right? Let's continue. So he created, so UX designers do a lot of these kind of flow charts. So this is his sitemap. What are the different pages, and under each page, what is going to happen? And then from one page to the other, which page is going to be connected to which page from where, right? So this is where he's doing like that plan. Let's continue. And then you start visualizing screens bit by bit, right? Again, and again, a lot of process. You already saw earlier, he said 6 iterations. So he revised the screen 6 times. Some of them may be more than six times as well. Let's continue. We're not showing all of that here. And then you do a user testing. So you take your wireframes, you take it to your users, and you test it, and you start discovering problems. After all the thinking, you still discover that there are problems. So, simple things like, oh, I thought this was a button, but it was actually a tag. Now that's an interface problem, right? There was a feature problem that, users wanted the information about the job here. This is, if I just get this much information, it's not sufficient for me, right? So these kind of problems were encountered. And then he got down to figuring out solution. So he changed his interface, right? To make it easier, and then went back to the user and figured out, does this work better, right? So there's a lot of back and forth that keeps happening. So one more problem, and we won't get into the details of it, but that's the process. Let's continue. Yeah, and then he started solving it. Let's continue. So several problems that he must have encountered in his user testing, and then he kept solving it. And then this is when you add the skin and the shiny bit to it. Now you decide, what colors do I want to use? Do I want to add some motion, some interactivity? Will something scroll down? Something will pop up, and things like that. Yeah. So now you start adding the skin to it. Let's move on. Yeah. Let's keep going. I think we can just scroll to almost to the end, and there'll be a video where we can see he's explaining the entire design here. Let's keep going. There is a video in which you can see parts of his, right? So much of all of this was done. And at every time he's talking about why I did what I did, right? Again, selection of his colors, design systems, right? Right. Okay. Wonderful. So that's what it is. Sorry, there's that video of his prototype is not here. But I think you've got a gist of what UX UI process is. So it's quite a deep dive, quite brainy and visual both. So it's intellectual and visual both. And that's if that excites you, then UI UX is something that you can do. It's not just about making shiny outcomes that look beautiful or evoke beauty. Evoke happiness in you. But there's a lot of thinking that goes behind evoking that sense of satisfaction. Let's come back to the presentation, Kirti, and we'll quickly talk about the courses that are available. Okay, so I've covered this. It's not just research. It's not just visual design. It's everything that happens in between, right? Let's go. A lot of people ask me, can I design user interfaces without learning about user experience? Do I need to know visual design if I want to be a UX designer? I always say graphic design is a great way to start if you want to be a UX UI designer, right? And I'll tell you why. So let's just go next. Kirti. Yeah, because user interface is a part of the user experience. They're not separate. Unless you do a good user interface, you can't get a good user experience. So you can't only be a UX designer, and you obviously cannot do user interface independent of UX. Unless you understand the tenets of user experience, you won't be able to come up with, you'll just keep making pretty looking things, but not understand usability and brand orientation or alignment, right? So you need to understand both for you to be industry relevant. Let's move. So these are the courses. We only have part-time courses in UX design. However, you are welcome to do the full-time PG diploma graphic design and then come to UX if you want. And some of our learners have done that, by the way. But our UX design, UI course offerings are part-time only, unlike graphic design. We have a PG diploma, which is a 1-year-long PG diploma and comes with a job guarantee. It is divided into 3 terms. In the first one, we do a foundation of visual design. In term 2, we do a UX UI fundamentals. You do 2 tiny projects and a couple of assignments, right? In term 3, you deep dive into UX UI. What you saw from Aramal was what happens in term 3. You do 2 full-blown projects like what you just saw, right? So that's a PG diploma. But if you don't have a year to invest, you can do a shorter journey. You can start with a certificate of 20 weeks in which you learn the fundamentals of UX UI. You do a design process. You do 2 short projects and you can exit at this stage. And that's a good time for you to know whether you really want to work in UX UI or not. If it interests you, you can continue your journey and to study the diploma for another 16 weeks in which you do 2 end-to-end projects. Okay. Classes happen twice a week, as happens for all our part-time courses. On Mondays and Thursdays, we start at 7 p.m., go on till 10 p.m. But we expect you to put in 6 hours of self-study every week, right? We are a rigorous academy and we make our learners work hard. Let's move on. So this is, I have broadly covered this, that if you start with a certificate, this is what you do in the first term, right? 2 practice assignments and 2 projects, and you are able to work on a simple digital product. Like all our certificate courses, this makes you ready for internship. But if you come from a design background, or if you've already worked in the industry, as a technical person, this is also enough for you to get into a job. So it really depends on what you've done before joining our course. But if you're a fresher and this is your first interface with design or UX, with design of any kind, then term 1 or certificate level makes you internship ready. But if you finish term 2 as well, is when you are job ready. And that's when you also develop your portfolio, because you now have 3 projects, 4 projects, 2 simple ones that you did in term 1, 2 that you did in term 2, right? Yeah, let's move on, Kirti. And with that, I hand over to Ruchika. Thank you, Ruchika, for being so patiently waiting for Kirti and me to finish our presentation. And from the digital space to now physical space, creating the experiences in physical spaces. That's what our interior design course does. Over to you, Ruchika.
Yes, thank you for introducing us so beautifully. Okay, so Kirti will move to the next slide. Okay. So what is interior design? Interior design is something that I feel is often confused with architecture or interior decoration or interior styling. So we look at what interior design is, because that is what we teach. So it is the art or practice of planning as well as executing a spatial design. This is usually done with the help of colors and light and mood setting and a lot of other things that you will get to see eventually. Keith, next slide, please. Okay. So what interior designers also do is they transform spaces via design. You might have a blank room and it's like a blank canvas. So you get to experiment with the room. You get to decide what the room should look like. You get to decide what furniture you will put in the room. That is eventually going to dictate how everybody else is going to experience the room. So essentially you're crafting experiences, just like Prachi said earlier. It deals with symbiotic human environment relationships. So how will one human in the room interact with another human, interact with maybe 5 other humans, how they will interact with the furniture around them, the windows around them, doors, windows, the entire building. How is a human going to interact with them? They tackle usability of each square foot of space. There is a lot of time. There are a lot of times when people want us to cover each and everything. So we will talk about details from the skirting all the way to the ceiling. We will cover furniture. We will cover fabrics. We will cover everything. Then eventually, when all this comes together, we also have to put them together sensibly, aesthetically, to make functional as well as good-looking interior spaces. So this involves ideation, experimentation, and then application, which goes on and on and on because it's an iterative process. Next slide, please. Okay, so we'll take a look at Kiti, next slide. We'll take a look at the difference between interior design, styling, and decoration again. So interior design is essentially now the art and science of understanding people's behavior. So it involves psychology as well as aesthetic design to make sure that you deliver a project that works well with everybody, that suits everybody, that is suitable for your users' needs functionally as well as emotionally. Styling, however, is a bit more temporary. You will put things into place and you might not be able to make large structural changes. You might not be able to make many changes that are permanent. There'll be temporary things. You might put in curtains that you will want to change. You might put in flowers that will eventually dry out. So that sort of stuff is styling. Styling usually happens in a smaller space than interior design, and decoration is also a step ahead from styling, and it's a little bit more longer but still temporary, I would say. So yes, it is furnishing and deciding smaller details as opposed to interior design. Okay, next slide, please. What are the opportunities for interior designers now? We already know that people end up designing houses, but besides that, they also design cafes, restaurants, hospitality interiors, meaning hotels and maybe motels or homestays, Airbnb, so popular these days, offices, workspaces. They might design for people who run fashion studios. They might design for retail in that manner. They might design small stalls or pop-up stores for people who who want to put up their stuff in let's say exhibitions or expos. Then they also design for sales. So there's a lot of opportunities available for interior designers if you go out in the market. Like we said, every square foot of space can be utilized for design. Next slide, please. So like UX design, we also have a course that is part-time. This has been split into 2 parts. However, there's a certificate course as well as a diploma course. And like the rest of our course, this is also buildable. So if you opt for the certificate course, you will have 18 weeks of self-study, 18 weeks of classes alongside the self-study that you will be putting in. If you want to build on this, you can put in more 18 more weeks that will take you to the diploma. For these classes, for the courses, you will have classes 6 hours a week, 3 hours on Mondays and 3 hours on Thursdays. And we expect you to put in at least 6 hours of self-study besides that, because there's a lot of interaction that happens in the class. There's a lot of work that we give you so you can actually become seasoned designers. Next slide, please. Okay. So like we saw earlier, there are 2 terms. So the first term is largely certificate, and whoever wants to complete the diploma would also study until term 2. So term 1 largely deals with the fundamentals of interior design, along with which we cover a software called Kuhum, which is AI powered, and it's very interactive and it's very fun to work with. It helps you generate a lot of very good 3Ds and 2Ds. And you will be working on a residential project besides this, which for which you will be working with a client of your own choosing. Then in the term 2, you will start applying the principles that you learned earlier to something a little more larger in scale. So you will be working on a commercial project. For this, there are two more softwares that you are taught. There are AutoCAD and SketchUp. So AutoCAD is largely a 2D software and SketchUp becomes your 3D software. Next slide, please. Okay. Kirti, if we could share just the two on the bottom, the two links, Monica's and Akriti's. Okay, so looking at the student work, Monica is a student for whom we will be looking at all the fundamentals and how she's gone through everything that we teach her. Like we said right in the beginning, the courses are designed for people who have little to no experience in the field of design. So we start all the way from the smallest of details, and then we lead you all the way to designing a larger, more tangible space. Can we scroll lower? Lower. So they study, we'll keep going, Kirti, slowly. Okay, so we study elements and principles of design. We try to understand what is it that makes up a space. How do you put together separate things that make up a space? They do a really fun activity in which they cut fruits and then they put fruits together. They try to arrange them in a said order depending upon the principles of design. Lower. Okay, so this is activity mapping. When they're mapping activities, they're supposed to observe people from the day to the night in their house, how they might be functioning, how they might be moving around, who is talking to whom, what routes are they taking, how is furniture affecting their movement, what sort of zones in the house are private, what is public. There's a lot of fun looking at your own house that happens here. There's a lot of fun epiphanies that are made here. Let's keep going lower. So this again is a bit of zoning where we will understand what is public, what is private, what is semi-private. Then they move on to mood mapping, for which they are supposed to study first a space that they have experienced themselves, and then they also move on towards looking at some examples from cinema. So mood mapping is largely where the color and light and the psychology, everything of that sort comes in. So they try to understand what a place feels like and why does the place feel so. Could it be how it smells? Could it be how it feels to the touch? Could it be what I see? Could it be what I can hear? What exactly is it that constitutes the mood of a space? Can we keep going lower, please? Yes. Once they've understood what a space is and what a mood is, they try to put together mood boards wherein they try to bring in elements from the design that they might have chosen, or elements depending upon the mood that they want to craft for a particular space, which will differ for a cafe, it will differ for a residence. Let's keep going. Then they move on to a very important aspect of interior design, which is ergonomics and anthropometrics, which is dealing with the human body, the size of the human body, and how things have been designed. So we sit on a chair every day, we use a table every day, we use pens every day, glasses every day, but we never really realize how important it is for us, for these things to be the right size for us. So that is also one thing that they study, so they can design effectively, design spaces effectively. They can't make a small bed, they can't make a small table or a giant bed or a giant table. So this is something really nice that they study. Can we go lower? Okay. Then they learn about light in detail, they learn about color in detail. Kirti, we can go now. We can go lower to the residential project, I think. Or maybe you will have to speak. Yeah, okay. So these are a few things that they've worked, a few iterations that they've done in Kuhum, which is the software that I just spoke about. It's largely AI powered, so they get a lot of opportunities to keep changing things as and when they want to change the mood of the space. The light can change the mood of the space. The color can change the mood of the space. Sometimes even the material can play a large part in determining what a space feels like to you. Okay, now we can move to Akriti's. Okay. So once the fundamentals are set in place, these people go out and they start speaking to people to make them their live clients, and then they work on a residential project. Lower. in order to understand what is it that a client's house should be like. They speak to a person in detail. They try to figure out their likes, dislikes, their daily routine. What is it that makes them comfortable? What do they like to do when they're free? What do they like to do when they're getting ready? Maybe who is it that they host? How do they host? Do they like to cook? How do they like to cook? What sort of music are they playing when they're cooking? There's a lot of things that go into building a home, because I think a lot of us have heard people say you only make a house once, or you only invest in a house once. So you get everything possible, all the details that you can from your client, and then you try to make all of that into his or her haven. Let's go lower. Okay. So here are a few things that the client might have requested: a less bright room. There has to be a lot of personal space. It has to be, he wants his space to feel like he's an accomplished individual. He wants it to be cozy. He wants it to be rejuvenating naturally. He's coming back from work. He wants to relax. He wants to recline. He wants to maybe watch TV when he's tired. Then it has to be organized also, because he doesn't really have the time to spare to go around organizing his house daily. All right. So as they move onwards, they try to put all of these things together in layouts, or what we call plans. When they're planning, when they're doing the plans, they try to go through every possible situation. They try to situate their beds and the rest of the furniture depending upon what structure is already available. So the doors and windows are often fixed. The bathroom position is often fixed. People try to get you to arrange things within them, as well as change the colors, the lighting and everything. So they try to figure out what exactly is the optimized layout that a client would want, or what is the best that would suit the client. For this, they conduct the SWOT analysis. So multiple iterations of the layouts also. And we can keep going. Okay. And then eventually they come at a point where they decide what color should they be putting in. If the bed is in place, what exactly should be the color of the bed? What exactly is the kind of light I want to put in? Do I want to change the flooring? If yes, what do I want to do with the flooring? What do I want to do with the ceiling? What sort of colors can I play with collectively? If I have fixed one, maybe the client has a favorite color. So what is it that I can use besides this color to make sure that his needs get met and the mood of the space is also the exact kind that he wants? Can we go lower? These are a few renders that they have prepared in Kuhum for this room that we were just seeing up there. So they've chosen the third layout that we saw right above us, and they've tried to make everything appear, like he said, cozy, organized, and at the same time it looks like it's the house of an accomplished individual. So there's a lot of classy furniture. It's also minimal-ish. It's not got a lot of detail. It looks sort of like the haven of somebody who is not very complex. So that are the sort of things that come across in a client's space once their house is designed in the first term. Let's go lower. We'll skip. So these are a few views. These are elevations. There are technical drawings that need to be delivered to the people working on the site. The labor requires a set of drawings that you need to make sure that the design is executed properly. So this is where all of that starts. Then they make call-out sheets. Call-out sheets have a small picture of what is it that you will be using on the site alongside all the details, so nothing gets confused. I cannot just say I want the black and white flooring. If I put a picture of the black and white flooring, it's going to be really great for whoever is going to be taking care of the site besides me. Can we go lower? So this is the call out sheet. It has a detail of each and everything depending, ranging from the picture to the brand, to the height, material, everything. Let's go lower. This has been made for the whole project. Okay, so these are the things that they have been able to achieve within the brief that the client had provided. Let's go lower. We can skip to the commercial project. We'll have to go lower. Okay, yes. So this commercial project was a co-working space called Nargis. So Nargis is the daffodil flower, if everybody knows. So this what they wanted to do was they wanted to take a brand and then convert that brand into a physical space. Or if Forest Essentials were to have a co-working space attached to their boutique stores, what would it look like? So this is an extension of that project. They've tried to make sure that they keep the spirit of the brand Forest Essentials alive, and they've taken a very natural, very soft element from within the brand's narratives itself. They've converted that. Can we go lower? Okay, so what they've done is they've also tried to look at the brand as a personality. Earlier, we were looking at the user like a personality. Here, when you're studying a brand and you're converting a brand into something, you will be considering the brand as the person that you are designing for. There might be stakeholders, but who is it that you're representing? Who is it that the design is representing? It is representing Forest Essential. So it is delicate, it is safe. Like I just said, they've picked out a very soft and very nice flower from the brand's narratives itself. It is elegant because it's a high-end brand naturally. It is also very sophisticated. Then what is the voice of the brand like? It's honest, it's optimistic, it promises you organic and very highly sourced ingredients. It has a very high sense of value. So there's quality, there's effectiveness, it's been researched very well. There's a lot of beauty, there's purity, there is a commitment to making sure that whatever they've promised has been delivered. The position naturally is luxurious Ayurveda. And the target audience for the co-working space is largely Gen Z. So it is 25 years plus people who are 25 and around that who will come and visit the cafe and maybe want to sit and work there in the co-working space. Let's go lower. Let's go lower. Okay. So again, like we saw earlier for the residential project, they've also conducted a SWOT analysis for this site. They've planned multiple layouts depending upon what should be situated where. They've tried to analyze what is the strength of each layout, weakness, opportunities, what could be the threat to each layout. So in such situations, what also happens is you try to consider where the road is, where the wind direction is. These are a few things that we keep in mind while designing as interior designers for physical spaces. Let's go lower. This is a working drawing, which is a plan that needs to go onto the site to be converted into a real-time design. This is a mood board where they've tried to put together all the colors of the fixtures as well as what the furniture could be like, what the openings could be like, what the plants could be like, what sort of plants, what sort of indoor plants should be there, what sort of outdoor plants should be there. If there are plants, what sort of planters should those plants be put in? So that is the amount of detail that you're supposed to pay attention to. Let's go low. Then this is an HVAC plan, which is an air condition and ventilation plan. Because of course, if you're going to be building a big space, you need to take care of the services very, very well. In a residential, this will not be as relevant, which is why we take this up in term 2. Let's go lower. This is a ceiling plan where you will be pointing out all the lightings, all the fan units, all the AC units. Let's go lower. We also have electrical and plumbing plans. Okay, then you have renders. So this is what Akriti envisioned the space to look like. This is what the entrance is. Let's go lower. Now you can see in the flooring, there's a very nice yellow detail in the tiles as it is borrowed from the Nargis flower, the daffodil flower, which is yellow in color. The lights are also yellow. There's also yellow going around the walls in the dedo. There's a white keeping in line with the sort of theme or the people that they are catering to. The chairs are also carrying a hint of yellow. Then there's a rawness to it because they're trying to exude a modernist luxury. So there's a brick wall, there's a lot of wood used, there's a lot of white used. And yeah, let's go lower. There's also an element of transparency with the glasses that they've used to make sure that the brand's ideas and ideals of being delivering what they've promised come across very, very clearly. Let's go lower. This is the zoning. So the lavender zone is for the women, the blue zone is for the men. This is how the zoning has been conducted. So everybody is comfortable while they're working. Let's go lower. Okay, the green zone is where the cafe is situated, which is right in the center. If you can see, this is a key plan on the side where you can actually point out where everything has been put within the plan itself. So circulation, activity mapping, all the things that they studied in the fundamentals can be seen being represented here. Let's go lower. Okay, these are the elevations like we saw for the residence before. Then there is a call out sheet again. Let's go lower, Kirti. We can scroll through the next few. All right, yes. So the glass, the material, the fabric, the lights, the plants, everything has been given. And yes, So these are the links for the projects, which we obviously do not require right now. Let's go to the next slide. Yes, I think we're done. Okay. Thank you so much. So this is what interior design is all about, guys. And if you have any questions, please.
Yeah, you can put the questions in the Q&A. Let's move on to the next slide. Kirti.
Okay. I'll come back again to kind of complete this whole circle. So at AND, we learn design with AND, we teach design beyond softwares. We just saw with all these portfolios that we have just shared with you all. We always start from fundamentals and we take you to the level where you have seen to the advanced levels, how you start from fundamentals and how you could see others executing it. We learn by doing, and there are live mentoring sessions. So basically, it's a combination of human support and technology. There are stackable courses like we have talked about. There is a career development and placement support as well that we offer. Okay, so I'll also talk about the mentors that, sorry, yeah. So we can see the mentors, how their experience and the professionals, how they bring wealth of knowledge and industry insights to our courses. And with these years of experiences they have worked with and making them an invaluable guide for our learning journey. Then the career services at AND are like there are 6 sessions on Saturdays by career experts, which is called a career development module. Then there is like one-on-one sessions, which are to align your competencies and career goals with industry opportunities. Then there are recruitment drives also, which are across diverse sectors happening. I'll be sharing some glimpse of our student success stories during, turning their skills into real world success.
Yeah, and these are actually, Kirti, the most proud moments for us because that's what they come here for, to transform their careers. And it's quite interesting. People from very different backgrounds, they come pursuing their passion for design or a creative field. What's also interesting is that people come from various cities. It's not design education so far has been confined to you have to travel to a metropolitan or at least one of the tier 1 cities to sort of pursue it, and not everybody can do that, doesn't have the opportunity to do it for various reasons. So that's something that gives us a lot of satisfaction. I think the two things, the portfolios of our students and then these success stories, these are the two things that we are most proud of. And at the back end of it, the strength is what Kirti just shared with you, are our mentors who come from one of the top, all of the top design institutions of the country, whether it is NID or NIFT or CEPT or Srishti, and are working at all the interesting places. So that's what is actually the value addition from. And with that, I think we are at the end of this thing. Thank you everybody for staying patiently with us for such a long time. And now I'll hand it back to Shubhangi to moderate if we have any questions.
Thank you for the presentation, ma'am. It's always, I have a good time always looking at students' work. So we already have some questions pouring in. So if you have any questions right now, I would recommend that you put it in the Q&A box so that we can answer them systematically. We also have Azhar from our Career Services Division. So if you have any questions related to placements or job in graphic, UX or interior, please go ahead and put it in the Q&A box. So let's begin. Vinod is asking, is this course suitable for a BFA candidate? Prachi ma'am, would you like to take that question?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, so all courses at AND are designed keeping in mind that you may or may not have a background in design of any kind. So you don't have to be a BFA or a BDes or a whatever, you don't need any of that. But you do need a passion for it. Yeah. So I don't think design is a discipline that you can pick up without having interest in it. So it can't be one of the random choices in your life. But if you don't have any background in design, you've never studied design or art, you are still welcome. You don't need good sketching skills, unlike a lot of people think that you need, not for these courses. But you do need to be curious, and you need to have a passion for design. You need to be curious about design. What is it really? And you should be a doer. You should be ready to do. You can't shy away from doing. So if you have these three things, then you don't need a BFA.
Great. Thank you for that, ma'am. Moving on. Soumya has another question. What is the self-study module in graphic design like? Kirti, would you like to answer that one?
Self-study module in graphic design. Like self-study, I think that was in interiors, like when
No. So I think what they mean is, what is the self-study component? Like it runs throughout. It's not a module or whatever. It just, they want to know what do they have to do in as part of the
like
self-study.
we go back to school, like it is just exactly doing your homework. So that's what self-study means, where you would be studying on your own, but yeah, working on the activities and practice tasks we have given, or anything that you want to refine from your classwork, from the live sessions. So that is what self-study
And
involves.
all the projects. So what happens is that, we start something in the class as a small activity. You continue it, complete it at home, because everything, all these projects cannot be done in the classroom completely. We kickstart it in the class, you go back, you work on it, you bring that work to the next class, it gets discussed, then you do a little bit of the next step. That is what self-study is. Self-study is also, we also give out a lot of handouts and reading and watching resources, and that's up to you. You may want to go through it, but there's a lot of, like Kirti said, a lot of homework. So 6 hours with us and 6 hours in our absence, work on your own every week for the part-time courses.
Great. Moving on, Blessila has another question. In the interior design course, what is the scope of placement? I think Ruchika and Azhar, I would like you to weigh in on the, uh, the components of this question.
Sure. I think during the presentation, Ruchika mentioned a lot of opportunities which are there right now, especially in two of the different sectors, which is a residential part and which is non-residential, which is including retail design and a lot of other spaces as well. We have seen recently a lot of different allied industries is also hiring for interior designers. Companies like Wakefit, Pepper Fry, and others are also hiring. And there is also a demand for retail designers these days. A lot of people are hiring for retail designers. And we have seen that a lot of students of ours have actually gone for the retail design itself. And the kind of course that students go through, it's very different, and they get an idea for like how industry actually works. They get a hands-on experience on that, and I think Ruchika can definitely add on to that.
Yeah, so I think you've covered largely everything, but there's one bit I think that we missed out on entirely, which is that a lot of people come to us saying that they want to start their own design firm. So I think that is one thing that is always present for anybody who would want to work as any sort of designer, but largely for interior designers. So you can freelance and you can go ahead, and a lot of times the project that you do in your first module gets converted into a live project. Your client largely is very impressed by the work that you've done on their bedroom. They will give you the whole house. And if you're lucky, they might also be running something retail or something commercial, and then you'll get that as well. So yes, that's how it
And then word of mouth can travel. So mostly the interior design course, while the graphic design and the UX UI design course at AND are directed towards jobs. However, half of our graphic design graduates also like to take up freelance work. But in the interior design, it is designed for you to be able to start a small practice of your own. And that's the kind of skill set that is getting built. However, some of our graduates have gone on to intern with architectural firms or interior design firms and then convert that into a job for themselves. So yeah, so those are the avenues.
Great. Sunil has a question. Sunil wants to know if he does not have any qualification in architecture or design, will he be still be able to work as an interior designer? Ruchika, do you want to weigh in on this?
Yeah, I think we've already answered this. So we try to make sure that all our courses, I'm sure that all of our courses are designed in a manner in which we'll start teaching you from scratch. We assume that you do not know anything about design. You just have to be curious and willing to learn. And then you can come in and we will send you back ready to take the field.
Soumya is asking, when does the certificate course start for graphic design? So Soumya, our next batch will start in the last week of November, if I'm not wrong. But we do this software bootcamp sort of a thing every 2 weeks. So you sort of enroll in that, make yourself familiar with Photoshop, Illustrator, Figma, etc., etc. You also get to have a taste of what teaching at AND looks like. We also have a lot of workshops and masterclasses that we do throughout the duration, and those are specially open for AND learners only. So if you're looking to apply, we also have a scholarship going on right now, which expires on 15th of September. So I would recommend that you apply ASAP and then start your journey with us. Blessila is asking, what is the recognition of interior design diploma from ANDAcademy? Prachi ma'am, do you want to take that one?
So I actually don't understand the question in terms of recognition. I think, and I'm by name, I'm guessing that Bellis may not be from India, but I don't think that I don't understand the question of recognition, right? So who recognizes what? You have to tell me that. But I think the design courses are about building competencies, right? So if you're asking us, like in India, the higher education governing body is UGC. If your question is that, is this recognized by UGC? Diploma courses don't come under the purview of UGC. So they can neither recognize nor not recognize this thing. And that's what I'm aware of. The other governing body that I'm aware of is the Architectural Council, which looks at architectural degrees. So they don't, they also do not recognize or not recognize design, this thing. So that's like the Bar Council does for law, right? In India, at least, we do not have anything like that for design. There's no governing body that recognizes or not recognizes a design education. And because these are certificate and diploma courses and not undergrad or post-grad degree programs, these also do not come under the educational governing body, which is UGC, right? So, but we are recognized by our learners, and we are recognized by our by the recruiters who hire our learners as an educational institution that is rigorous and provides meaningful industry relevant education. And for me, that is more than recognition.
And we are recognized by our faculty who place trust in us and deliver this course. People who have come from NID, NIFT, STEPT, IACD, some people who you see on the panel. So as far as the question of recognition and having confidence in this course and curriculum goes, that is how far we go. We have much faith and trust in our curriculum. So yeah.
On that, Shubhangi, I actually want to add, something that So anybody can go on to our website and look at the list of mentors that we have, and you'll find some of industry stalwarts in all the 3 disciplines of UX, graphics, and interior designs. Very, very senior professionals, and their names are not there as token names, and their photographs are not there as token photographs. They have agreed to be present for the reviews of our students, and that's the quality benchmarking or the quality assurance process that we follow, that we dare to bring such stalwarts into the classroom and expose our students to their scrutiny. And that's how their names are there, and we humbly enjoy their confidence in us. And I think for a practice-based discipline, the recognition by the industry and experts from the discipline is far more than any other recognition.
Yeah. I think with that, we've come to the end of this webinar. Thank you, everyone who's stuck around till the end of this webinar. Thank you for all your patience. I'm hoping that we'll see you in class very, very soon. If you do not know, we're running a scholarship right now, which is at 10%. It ends on 15th of September. So I would recommend that if you're wanting to apply and start your design journey and now is the time to do that. Thank you, Prachi ma'am. Thank you, Ruchika. Thank you, Kirti. And thank you, Azhar, for joining us today. Yeah, with that, I say good night.
Thank
Bye.
you, and good night, everybody.
Thank
Bye.
you. Good night.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.